A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mamushampagi. And tonight we'll be discussing President Yoweri Museveni's donations. Can they help him achieve his transformative agenda? President Museveni made 2 trips to Rukungiri district in western Uganda, where he donated, we're told, up to 5 billion shillings in hard cash and material donations to the people of Rukungiri. It's been tied to some extent to the upcoming by-election for the woman member of parliament, where the NRM is battling with an opposition candidate, and some people have tied it to the donations to that. Others have stretched it to a long-running contestation between President Yoweri Museveni and main rival Dr. Kano Kizza Besigye, who, by the way, celebrated his birthday today. He's a birthday boy today, so happy birthday. And then the president also made some donations to another constituency in eastern Uganda, a different set of donations. But the bigger question is, can these help achieve the transformative agenda that the president has been fighting for? To discuss that with me tonight, I have Honorable Fred Turyamuhweza. He's a member of parliament for Rujumbura County in Rukungiri district. Fred, very nice to have you on the Fourth Estate.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Mangusha. Very glad to be here for the first time, but I must inform you that I'm a very keen follower of this program, so I've always been with you in spirit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We also have from Kabula Liantonde, James Kakoza. James Kakoza has been here a few times, a former Minister of Health and represents Kabula Liantonde. He's a member of the National Resistance Movement. Very nice to have you, James.
Thank you very much for inviting me, giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. And of course, my colleague, Onapito Ekomloit. He's Legal and Corporate Affairs Director at Nile Breweries AB InBev.
Good evening, Charles, and good evening, members.
For effect, I should add that Onapito is a former member of parliament. He represented, I think, was it Amuria?
Yes.
Yes, Amuria constituency. That's many years ago. And he also served the president as presidential press secretary.
We did not receive a donation as MP. So we are waiting.
And you did not deliver one when you were working for the president?
Even a handshake.
Even when you worked for the president, you didn't help him to identify problems on how to fix issues?
We shall advise you on how to get some for your people in Amuria.
Gentlemen, I want to start with you, Fred.
Yes.
To ask, you come from Rukungiri.
Yes, I do.
So your constituents are beneficiaries of the president's largesse. What did the president give?
Thank you very much. I come from Rukungiri, yes. My people are beneficiaries of these goodies delivered by the president twice in 1 month, last month and recently on Sunday. He went with quite a huge number of assortment of items ranging from tractors, agricultural tractors, motor vehicles, minibuses, trucks, motorcycles for these border riders, and cash. I saw some, I don't know whether they are dummy checks or real checks from Bank of Uganda given to various circles in the district.
What is this money for? What is it for?
Right now I can't guess, but I can't tell what the money was really meant to achieve. But like you rightly said, some have tied it to the upcoming by-election. I think he's using it to campaign, like he has always done, to, bring people up, giving them money to support his agenda. He said he was bringing money to get people out of poverty as an economic activity for our people. But in that there are so many questions to ask, whether it has helped our people. The story of this money being donated to our constituents is not starting just this time when the president came to Rukungiri. It started way back, I think in 2006, when the president came with a program called Bonabagagaware through NADS. He was also giving donations, giving pickups, giving, physical money. And over 10 years, we have been asking people. He had an agenda that people would start earning 20 million per annum from that program of Bonabagagaware. I don't know, Mr. Mangusha, whether we still have a minister for economic monitoring. Before the president came back this time, it should have been assessed to tell whether Bonabagagaware people started earning 20 million in my constituency, they are not there. So I highly doubt that it is something that he meant would get people out of poverty. I very much believe that it was tied to the upcoming election, and I doubt also that he will achieve his agenda of winning the election that is upcoming. In
okay, I just noticed on the screen your name. They put your other name. The name is not wrong. Fred Tumahirwe.
Tumahirwe,
yes.
Sure.
So for our viewers, and I think I hope the production people can make that amendment quickly.
Right.
BTT.
FTT. Yeah,
yes,
I'm referred to as TT, yeah.
These donations, Mr. James Kakoza, you've been a member of parliament. This is your 4th term in parliament. You've been a minister in this government. And the bigger question is, the government you serve has been promising transformation. From 1997, one question has been apparent. Ad hoc injection of money, does it help achieve the transformation agenda? Because you have two things running side by side. There are the handouts that the president gives, which is what he did in Rukungiri, because he carried thousands of plastic chairs, carried saucepans, carried plates, and motorcycles, not border borders, motorcycles for use as border borders, took tents, took tractors, took lorries, took minibuses or costas, I don't know, for use of as taxis or what, I don't know. But he's also run side by side since 1997 programs that tend to get integrated into somewhat formalized. You had Ntandikwa in 1997, you had Bonaba Gagawale, you have yes,
2006. Yeah.
2006. You have there was something in 2001. I remember 2001, and now you have Operation Wealth Creation. The question is, are these taking the government and the party you serve anywhere in achieving actual transformation?
I think let's agree that we have to structure what we need to do as a principle. You know, programs are made and then implementation is a different thing. We have to agree that prosperity for all, is it a good principle to the public to achieve what they want or what the public can get from out of that? And for me, in my opinion, I think the programs are good, but the way how we do them it's like when you bend a principle, it catches up with you. So the programs which are meant to be implemented for the good of the public, I think there is a way how we have to structure and implement them in their corrective manner. And if you follow that, the programs are not bad.
I did give a deep introduction of your service to the public.
Yes.
Your time in Parliament and your service as a minister.
Yeah.
What you see is a change of name of programs. What you don't see is the correction of the principle that you're talking about. So, and I'm asking myself, when the president, because when the president carried money to Ginger in a sack, there was that famous photograph of Minister then for Youth, Kibule,
Yes.
carrying a sack to hand over to a youth group. I think it was about 300 million, 260 million. I don't remember the about 250 million. The president said he had been told that when he goes through the formal channels, the money doesn't get delivered. The very same principle was followed last Sunday in his Rukungiri donation. He said, okay, what is the problem? If I send the money to buy tractors, they will not buy the tractors. So he procures the tractors. If I send money to buy motorcycles for the young people there to ride as border borders and get an income, they will not deliver. So I'll buy border borders. I'll buy motorcycles. He says these groups that are managing functions, parties, to rent chairs, If I send them money to buy the shares, they may not buy the shares. So I'm going to buy them the shares. And he takes those physical things and delivers them. What is the thinking here?
Of course, Mr. Mwangusha, what we have to agree, let's agree to the principles. If you agree that the program is good, the way it's going to be implemented, that's where the challenge is. And for me, the challenge is in the way how systems must work, how institutions must work. If this program, if it's implemented as it is, you can achieve. If it's not implemented as it's structured, then you get a problem.
Yeah, could you just
because what I'm trying to say, yes, prosperity for all. What was its intention? It's people to have generating activities, incomes. They need to be told what they should do with the money. They need to be told skills. But again, if like the president, you are saying that he took money, he found a challenge, that when I give money, it doesn't go where it's supposed to go. That's where you have to check the system.
So you in the part, I don't know if
you get what I'm saying.
I don't know.
That's where you get. So we have to separate both. That the intention and the spirit and the program, they are good. But the way how they are implemented, that's where there is a problem. Because if you say you agree with me, that instead the president said, in your own words, that when I give money to go, it doesn't reach where to go. That's why I'm carrying it myself. Then that's where there is a problem. Why? If you have a strategic to achieve what you want, like for prosperity for all, that's where you check the system and say why institutions don't work. That's where you go to the root cause why they don't work well. And I think that's why the challenge in our system, we have to check that and to make it proper so that it goes in tandem with the principle to achieve what we want. If we don't agree with that, then there is a problem.
Let me just talk this a little bit before I move to Anapito. You and your people, your colleagues in Liantonde, you support the NRM 100% loyally for many years. Are you waiting for your bonanza as well? Because Rukungiri has been celebrating. Yes. Are you waiting for your bonanza?
Of course, constituencies cannot have the same...
No, I'm talking about Liantonde.
Liantonde, yes. Of course, what we need, and you know, the environment is different.
They're already getting on a daily basis.
No.
But Mr. Mwamsha, before you go to Anapito, just allow me, you know, I'm very carefully listening to my colleague here. He's calling them programs. And that is where I have a challenge. Actually, these are not programs. This is the president's thinking. In fact, a majority of these utterances and donations have come through his manifesto of looking for votes. These are not government programs. These monies are not budgeted for. You cannot go and ask Keith Muhakans or Honorable Kaseja whether prosperity for all was in the national budget.
No,
so that's where the
we're going to come to that because what James has on his on the table there is the income tax bill. Is that the income tax bill?
Yeah, I have the income tax bill.
The income tax bill. And many Ugandans have been debating the raft of new taxes that government is proposing going into the next financial year for the budget that is now being processed, which will be tabled in June. I think June 8th or June 15th, which 13th?
Yeah.
June 13th. Yeah. Yes, when you agree to table the budget. And people are worried because you want to tax WhatsApp, and people are saying you're taxing WhatsApp because of the data, but someone has bought airtime and they have paid tax on airtime, so you want to tax them. Is that double taxation? You're increasing taxes on a whole raft of issues that you have in there. We have been discussing them on this show and on other programs, and we are writing about them in the newspapers. How do these align? And that's the bigger question we'll be asking. So, Honor,
before you reach there, let him put something on record what he has said.
Can I be fair so that we have all of us participating in the discussion? Let him speak
first and put something on record.
Especially since I was also a former member.
He's a former member of Parliament.
So you can excuse me for also joining in the MP's debate.
Honor, I realize that...
I think I just wanted to help, to explain what is obvious. What do the president's actions speak to? to me, they speak to three things which are clearly linked. One is we are a nation of beggars. And I will explain. Two, because there is a dysfunctionality in service delivery by the government machinery. And this has led to patronage becoming a very effective tool in politics to bridge the gap. So first of all, what do I mean by nation of beggars? We all know that one, the president leads this nation in begging from other richer or better organized countries. And whatever that supplements the national budget, you have a whole elite class starting the begging. The golden handshake was a classic case where you had people we thought didn't have to beg. They confessed that they asked the president to give them something over and above. Then the political class across, the religious leaders, and almost everyone who meets the president ends up begging. So the president is, in some respects, is actually a victim of a national, he's almost a culprit and a victim, whereby he cannot, many of us across this, even if you are not an MP, and of course MPs are most affected, the moment you meet people, the natural instinct in this sea of dependency and poverty is to think you can sort it out yourself. And the president just being another Ugandan. Even those who are not in politics like me and you, when we go to those who are really doing badly and you have something you feel you should react, and people
You
react.
should do something about it.
Yeah, you should do so. So we are that bad love across the board. People beg, and I'm sure the president has learned that he's expected to respond to this in almost every occasion. He goes to meet the bishops after the alleged fight with the cardinal. He goes and he meets them with some development group the Catholic Church is running, and he ends up responding. So people beg in subtle and direct ways. So the other one then is, of course, the dysfunctionality of the state machinery, the delivery machinery. All the things the president did, I'm sure there are government structures that on paper are meant to have done them. But of course they are not doing. And then ultimately, the obvious one, which every political elite can be accused of, the president being at the head, is using patronage to bridge the gap.
Correct.
When you have the means, at personal level, at position level in government, you take it upon yourself because you know that it will generate excitement and generate love for you. So I'm not surprised that he's doing what typical Ugandans do, and you can accuse him of perhaps creating that culture lately.
Are those the three things you talked about? I thought you missed out one. Maybe missed out the third one. But let me ask this question. To Rukungiri, the president carried 5 billion in both those dummy checks that you talked about and in the items that were purchased. 5 billion shillings. We're a country of...
very little money.
Yes, we're a country of about 127 now. Is it about 127 districts? Is it
126.
126 districts. Every district, I would imagine.
117.
Huh? 117, there are those that didn't get activated.
There are some which are coming up.
Yes.
But the one on record is 117.
How sustainable? If you take 5 billion to Rukungiri, definitely.
It is sustainable. It's sustainable so long as it replaces the government structured delivery, which somehow the president acknowledges and many people acknowledge is not working. So if it goes to bridge that gap in the eyes of those who are receiving, then the person who is doing it is a good person.
Let me come back to you.
Yes.
One of the major questions is, what is the selection criteria for who benefits? And I want to background this. A few years ago, I interviewed a former minister of finance who got extremely frustrated by the bureaucracy around finance, because he expected that when he says he has a program, they should give him the money because he knows where the money is supposed to be going. And he shared an experience when he carried money in similar fashion to some district in eastern Uganda. And some people stood behind his car and drafted a proposal and created a group and took it back to him and said, this is our group. Kavula Youth Development Association or something like that, presented. He moved from there and went to Luero. Exactly the same thing happened. And before he left those two areas to drive back to Kampala, the leaders were fighting over the money, saying, no, we have gotten the money, let's share. How much did you receive? We received 10 million. So where are you taking us? The executive committee said, you know, the group, the thing. So what was the selection criteria for the Rukungiri beneficiary?
Yeah, first I want to...
and you can speak specifically to Rujumbura.
Yes,
yes.
I will. Rukungiri actually. But I wanted to respond to what my colleague said about sustainability. I can assure you it is not sustainable.
Why do you think so?
I think so because this is not the first time it is coming. You remember I asked you about whether we have, we still have a minister for economic monitoring to monitor the Bonabagagaware, bonanzas that have happened before. And if you stand in Rujumbura constituency or Rukungiri for that matter and say, when the president came here, he said, you are going to make 20 million. Where are you who have made 20 million? We have asked those questions at campaigns, and nobody has come up. So it is not sustainable because right now what is happening in Rukungiri, because this money had not been planned for, this money had not been properly communicated, these goodies had not been, programmed. Most of the groups that you are reading in newspapers were formed a day or two before the president arrived. When they got information that he was coming and he had things he was delivering to Rukungiri, they started forming groups. So what is happening? Right now, a number of leaders, movement leaders, political, local leaders, local government leaders are in hiding because they took money which did not belong to them. They took money for fictitious groups. And the residents knew that they had got money. So they went to claim. And because they had already used up the money, now they are in hiding. As we talk right now, there is more than 40 million shillings, I think even close to 80, at Rukungiri police station, as exhibit of groups fighting. So this money has created conflict.
The money that was distributed.
So much that some got left in the fight.
People are fighting. People have injuries. Others are in jail. There is no economic activity going on right now in Rukungiri. So how can you sustain this kind of program which has no head or tail, which has not been communicated?
Of course, this
and you think so. Coming directly to your question on the criteria, there was no criteria. I don't even know how the president thought about it. I don't know whether he has advisors, because we are the local leaders, we are the elected leaders. But I, for one, as member of parliament, I was not even asked.
Yeah, but you belong to the opposition, so maybe you're not consulted because you belong to the opposition.
But there is also this thing. When the president was talking, he said he wanted to go and remove FDC from Rukungiri. How can you remove FDC from Rukungiri? If he wants development, you should first start from the point that everybody should benefit from the service delivery of government. It's as if the opposition does not pay tax. This is taxpayers' money. So if FDC pays tax, why shouldn't they benefit
but
from it?
And you're shaken as an opposition that the president has pumped so much money into a constituency that's going to go through an election. You have a candidate, and the NRM has a candidate.
I cannot be shaken.
Why not?
This story did not actually start yesterday. It started in 2011 when the president went to a press conference in Yarushanji, and he said, give me any member of the movement, even if he's going to sleep, and come and vote for the movement. At that time, the people blagged. They gave him the sleeping members of parliament. But since we started shaking them up, we raised from the last election. And now the court has also answered the district woman member of parliament. He's now realizing, after 32 years, that the opposition now is exposing the sleeping MPs and telling the president that actually people now know what they want. So how can this money shake me? People know what they want. When the president comes, people don't expect these bicycles, these motorcycles. They want to hear a structured program of government, so where everybody can benefit. And for us as leaders, that is what we are working for. This 5 billion, some estimate even estimated to be in 10 billion. If it was delivered through government structures, it could have built a few bridges. It could have delivered some medicines to hospitals. When he was giving these goodies, was he aware that people were suffering in hospital? Was he aware that children were not at school? So now we're rainy season.
But the government has programs that are catering for that, wouldn't you say?
But you see,
I think Mr. Mangusa have heard now what I've said, what I've said as I was talking.
So to complete what you asked me,
principle.
There was no formula. There was no, rationalization to know that we have this. It is going to these people. It is going to do this, and therefore it will have an impact. Even if that minister I was asking about is around right now, and he goes there, there is no impact.
He's no longer minister. He's been out of cabinet for some time.
The position, they will not find any economic impact on that money being delivered.
This is what I have been saying. That if it's a program, and the principles are generally accepted, the way how we structure them to implement them, they must focus at a certain vision. If prosperity for all is for all for Ugandans, the message is clear that what do we want to do and what do we want to achieve. The moment you bend those principles, you can't achieve what you want. And I think this is the comment which is also coming. I think we should do, if it's politics.
No, you're talking. You're raising a lot of ifs.
No.
And I'm asking the question. I don't know if it's if.
It's not if.
No, just a moment. I don't know if you're talking in terms of if one, if two, if three. But you're saying ifs. Like, we don't live in this country. We know, and where we started from, there are programs that have been ad hoc, and there was an attempt to formalize them, which is the Ntandikwa, Bonabagagawale, Prosperity for All, and now Operation Wealth Creation. Those are clear. We know, because papers have written about them. We also know that the president has been doing these donations. So we can have a discussion that creates a clear distinction and ask, does this help your party, which is the party in government, to achieve that transformation agenda? And how effective is it?
Yeah, you see, my brother.
So let's not talk about if. Let's say
a multi-party setting.
Yeah.
You have a manifesto to the public you deliver. It's where they judge you to give you power to come back again. And if it's prosperity for all, it was for NRL, and they are trying to do it, that's the achievement.
No, the budget for prosperity for all is different from the president's donations in Rukungiri.
No, a donation, of course we budget for them. You know, if you look at the budget, we budget for the president donation. And you had the last comment from Electoral Commission that the president has powers to donate. And if you donate, you are not going to say that, no, I don't want you to donate. That money is budgeted for. And we give you money to do it. But for me, my thinking is simple. You asked a very good question. What do we want to achieve? If we want to achieve, we should stick to the principles. If we stick to the principles, we shall go an extra mile that what we are doing now than doing ad hoc measures when we have programs to implement. And we shall achieve more. Even the vision we want to achieve, we shall achieve them before time.
But Charles, but Charles, again you are saying, you told Honorable Kakos that we should not discuss as if we are not in Uganda.
Exactly.
One of the things to realize, even if the government machinery became efficient, we have a culture and a political reality where the president is akin to a king. And traditionally, a king is a giver. You can't go to a king's palace and starve. You can't not get cows. So this culture, so long as our democracy is at that level, where the president is perceived as a king. In fact, when people meet him, they perceive him as a king. They perceive him as a giver.
He will donate.
This is going to be no story. It will continue. It will continue. It's a societal issue as well.
I'm going to come back to the members of parliament.
They set mind.
Because the members of parliament do the appropriation.
Yes. And they do the same.
Yes. You are discussing, you're debating the budget. You're increasing, government has proposed an increase in taxes across the board, almost. You provide in that budget, like Honorable Kakos has just said, a line item under the budget for President's Office. Is it President's Office or State House?
Yes.
Presidential donations. And it's been growing.
Yes.
And the question is, when do you question effectiveness of these things, of these donations? How does it help the political agenda of the party in power? How does it help the government's broader transformative agenda? I mean, you're counting down, and there is debate on whether this country will achieve middle income status by 2020. But one predominant thing is the Uganda Bureau of Statistics has given us numbers that poverty has gone up again. Poverty numbers, we've slipped from 19% back to about 26.
21, they corrected the figure.
Okay, but whichever case, it's going up.
Yeah.
You have a permanent between 7.5 million Ugandans to about 10 million Ugandans that are below the poverty line. You have another almost permanent between about 10 to almost 15 million Ugandans that live on the edge with the risk of falling back into poverty.
Yes.
And you go back to Kabula, he goes back to Rujumbura, he goes back to Amuria, I go back to Fort Portal, to Toro, and poverty is apparent. Yes, there are some new nice houses. The question that you as members of parliament need to ask is, as you appropriate these resources, as the budget, as the budget grows, I think you're talking about 13 trillion.
The 13 trillion, the budget correction,
yes.
domestic revenue collection is targeted to be 15 trillion.
15 trillion.
Yeah.
Where is the money coming from? Who is paying? Who is not paying? Where is it going? How does it help? These are questions that we need to contend with. Can we pick this up after a very short commercial break? We'll be right back. You're still watching the Fourth Estate. We have in studio tonight, we have from Rujumbura County in Rukungiri District, and a member of the Forum for Democratic Change,
Yes.
Fred Turiamhweza Tumahirwe, is Member of Parliament. We also have from Kabula in Lyantonde District, James Kakoza, who's Member of Parliament and a former Minister of Health. Yes, Frank Tumusime is watching us and says, Kakoza should realize that it is Museveni who killed systems which are operated by people. Why he killed them is another long topic. It looks as though people are in silent strike by killing two birds with one stone. First bird is by undermining what Museveni does unplanningly. And bird two is stealing the money. After all, it was planned for. After all, it was unplanned for. So, they seem to reason. That's James Tumsime. And he's an old man. Nteja Asimwe says, Honorable Fred, you sit in Parliament, which appropriates money and gives donations to the President.
Yes.
With or without elections, the President has programs which never stops throughout his term as President. And he asked me the question and says, aren't we getting wary of people like MPs who lament like ordinary peasants? The two of you, then lamenting like ordinary peasants who are us. Can Honorable Fred, through a private member's bill, stop these donations instead of lamenting as though he is a helpless voter from my village in Bushenyi? Can you help? You'll answer this. Let me take a few more from some of our viewers.
Right.
Didi in Ishaka says, we should leave the national budget as the main form of planning for service delivery, and we resort to presidential pledges. The latter, I think he wanted to write donations. The latter seems to come faster and is more effective. Kagwirao, the president said, I'm going to Rukungiri. He carried his money, he carried his motorcycles, he carried his plates and chairs and tents delivered. And the checks were delivered. Bank of Uganda checks were delivered immediately. Another, Amanzuru Leslie William is I think in Arua, or in West Nile, says, Ndugu Charles, Ugandans have lost sense of self-reliance and patriotism. We have invested more in begging from leaders than actively getting engaged in the meaningful use of our available resources. That's why Museveni gets it easier to play around with Uganda's livelihoods and realities. We're a nation filled up with a docile population. Leslie, I can answer this immediately. I have been told that some of the groups were formed because they knew the president was coming and was coming with a basket full of money or resources. Yes. They did not plan to beg, but they knew there was
money to take.
There was some wind blowing through.
But a self-respecting person will not do that.
Not to do
So
that.
they were already in the mindset of
The mindset.
getting free things.
Another Bernard Impeirwe is watching us, I think, from somewhere in Rubaga. He says, let's be honest to ourselves. Unless this government puts the right institutions with monitoring, advisory, and evaluation departments, we won't get the desired results. The president has dished out 5 billion, but who will follow up? The president is desperate to have this country out of poverty with good faith, but using wrong means. I think he needs to be advised. Bernard Impero from Lubaga, he adds and says, this government should restructure all government bodies, downsize, employ people on contract basis like 1 year, and evaluate performance before renewal. Downsizing will enable government to pay motivating salaries. I have another viewer here. Okay, I think I've taken this already. We'll pick up more messages as we move along.
Yeah,
Gentlemen, the ball is back in your court.
Yes.
You're members of parliament, you're lamenting like the rest of us?
No, I wanted to answer directly that viewer from Bushenyi. I'm actually not lamenting. I'm here to send a clear message to the president. As a leader, as a member of parliament, yes, we appropriate the budget. We are not going to stop presidential donations. No. But there is money to do other programs which the president can take to the people. The people of Rukungiri receiving this money, they are entitled to it. I cannot begrudge them. In fact, even if he had more, he can take it there. However, the issue of institutions, we are now dealing with the program-based budgeting. Okay? So the programs are there. The money is there. What people expect from the president when he visits us in Rukungiri are these programs that are going to benefit everybody. We are talking about the roads. It's not that we don't have money for the roads and it is the money the president is using. Absolutely not. So the president should come, or his agents for that matter, talk about the roads, talk about the education, the routing education institutions, talk about healthcare delivery system, talk about, all these things, because they are there in the budget.
Just a moment, Fred.
Yes.
Where is that debate beginning from? Because Ona put it well. He said we're a nation of beggars. As soon as the president left Rukungiri on Sunday, on Tuesday, 17th, he met this circle of the bishop, of the archbishop he's talking about, of the archbishop,
Archbishop, yeah.
at Hotel Africana.
Yes.
And they requested for money.
Just a moment. They had collected all women from all over the places, putting on busutis, gomasis, walking in. Some of them, I'm not sure they knew what they wanted to do there. And by the time he walked out, he had announced a donation to that circle. $500 million shillings.
Yes.
He had left 5 billion in Rukungiri. He went somewhere in, I don't know which constituency in eastern Uganda, and gave donations. It's the culture. We do not see this debate emerging in parliament. And like Ona said, possibly because every member of parliament, he donated to Rukungiri. In Liantonde, they must be asking, Honorable Kakoza, does it help us, like Sunday Monitor is asking today, by the way, does it help to oppose or to support Museveni? I need to remind you that previously, he carried some money to Kasese, because Kasese voted against him. So the people in Fort Porto, in Kabarole, would be asking, hey, by the way, do we need to evaluate our support?
And Charles, forget just about the money that goes constituencies. Individual MPs also beg from the president for different reasons. Scholarships for their children, medical help, and he gives them. So the MPs are part of us, and they're also joining the queue.
Yeah, but we are answering that question in Rukungiri. You get? I earlier told you that the clear reason for these donations is the upcoming by-election in Rukungiri. Because if you look at the developmental programs that we have in the district, the road infrastructure, the health, the whatever, none of those were talked about. So it is purely elections. And we are answering it in a sense that, like he did in Jinja, when he asked for his sleeping MP, and he, by the way, in Jinja, he also gave donations. Did they comply? They did not. So in Rukungiri, we are not going to comply. And that is a direct answer, okay, to the question whether we should support.
You speak with a lot of confidence. Where does your confidence come from?
My confidence?
On this particular election, where is it coming from?
On this particular election? Well,
You need to bring him back after the election.
no.
Because I will.
My confidence comes from the fact that
when he campaigned Museveni the last 2016, how many votes did Museveni get in Rukungiri and how many his candidate get?
no, you
Who
ask
got
me
the best?
You ask me what I got.
No, I'm saying the president of a party.
No, he was a candidate.
I was
So
a
he can speak
candidate
for himself.
I can speak for myself. I was a candidate in Rumbura. I had a candidate at the presidential level. We both won in Rukungiri. So what I'm saying.
How many NRM people came
No.
from Rukungiri?
I don't speak for NRM. What I'm saying is this: Rukungiri has now woken up to reality. The president is now responding to the opposition's call that what he's doing is not right. We need to get back to the programs to develop the people. In fact, this is a wake-up call for the rest of the country. Daria promised.
You're tipping on a bit of
Oh
a
yes,
top.
and everybody else. That the president's programs are not working. We need to get back. This is the debate. We need to get back to program-based, budgeting and utilization of our taxpayers' money, get programs going, get institutions working, so that this country can move forward.
Honorable James Kakoza,
and for me,
you at two levels. As a member of parliament, one, because you appropriate the budget as Nteja Simwe commented. But two, as a member of the ruling party.
Yeah, of course. For me,
you are accomplices
yeah.
in the failure of the transformation of the country and the president's honest agenda to transform the country by not questioning some of these things and ensuring that your party is actually being accountable. It's delivering on what it intends to deliver.
No, but Mr. Mangus, I will have to know the performance of government service delivery and what is entailed within the achievements of government of NRM. If we talk of poverty levels, we look at the history. By the time NRM came into power, what was the percentage of the poverty level? It was about 56 to 65%. If it's coming now to 21%, isn't there a difference? It had reached 19.5% in the other last financial year. Now it's going back to 21%. That's why I said that Minister of Finance, the challenge we have in implementation of this program, we need to think around once the indicators show that the direction you are going is wrong and you stick to the principles. You get what I'm saying? We appropriate this money.
I hear you.
Yes.
You're forgetting that it's been 32 years.
No, 32 years.
Yes. You're talking about a reduction from what you say 56% to 21%.
Yes.
In 32 years.
But you must.
How many? You're reducing by a percentage every year.
Yeah, but I'm telling you.
1 percentage point every year.
When somebody.
You tell me that is good performance?
Yes, because do you know why? Look, 32 years. Was it a flat go on? If you have a country 20 years down the road, one part of the country, which is meant to be productive, people are killing each other. Kony is there killing another. You think you can perform better than that?
Kony has been gone since 2000.
Since 86. No, hold on, Mr. Mangus.
Kony has not operated, has not run one, has not had one operation in northern Uganda in the last 12 years.
No, but how many wars have been there since this government came? 32 years you are counting. There was FOBA, there was ADF, there was anything. There are 4 pillars which government.
When
Mr. Mangusha, if you are counting 32 years, 32 years, could you deal with other than first stabilizing the country and do other things? You leave your friends in the northern region being killed and you start dealing with infrastructure development. What do you deal with first? You deal with peace.
Your colleague here and yourself talked about implementation. You talked about
a challenge.
Remember what you said at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I said for me, if we stick to the principles.
You talked about the principle.
And then the challenges to implement.
The implementation.
Exactly. If there are challenges.
Does carrying money in a sack, whether it is in a dummy check or physical cash, does carrying plastic chairs.
That's what I'm saying.
Fix the principle you talked about? Because I think Fred wanted to ask you, I didn't give him the chance. He wanted to ask you, what is that principle?
Yeah, give me the chance.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming to. That if you have a challenge, you go to the root of it and solve it, but you don't solve it by ad hoc. That's where we mess up. Me, I'm honest to tell you that, like somebody who has given a contribution, if you structure, you have institutions to deal with the work. If they don't do it, actually in the last debate, which we had on the last budget framework paper, I asked the Minister of Finance, if you were performing well, you have reached the external funding of 20%. Domestic revenue collection is the 80%. Now, that this financial year, we are going to be at 25% external funding, then domestic revenue collection 75%. You, Minister of Finance, what is the strategy? Don't you think that there is a challenge where you have to come in? This is what I'm talking about.
Yes, but if
that as you implement programs, but you have to deal with the challenges as you
Honorable
go.
Kakoza, if you give excuses like you're giving,
they are not excuses.
Just a moment. For the 32 years, it means neither in the NRM caucus,
yes,
nor in cabinet, nor in parliament are you going to raise these questions. Because if you say the country has been almost 100% stable for the last 12 years,
yes,
but the contribution of domestic revenue to the budget is dropping by 5% instead of growing by another 5%.
That's a challenge.
What exactly is the problem? And if you're saying
exactly,
if you're questioning implementation, and like I said, the president has complained about this. He says, I carry money because the formal systems are failing me. In this Rukungiri, in the Rukungiri case, he said, who did he rely on? Who had told him what the problem is and found a way to fix it?
You see, that's
because
some house girl.
I would have imagined that the president summons his Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
I agree with you.
There are 4 of them.
They agree with you.
4 who sit in that ministry. He would summon his other, the many presidential advisors on economic affairs. There was a Minister for Economic Monitoring, whom he talked about, and others, and say, what is our problem in Rukungiri? How do we fix it? I have this 5 billion shillings, what can it do? And someone is advising our president and tells him, call a plastic chair manufacturing company or selling company and tell them to deliver to you 2,000 plastic chairs, go and give them to the people of Rukungiri. And you come and try to convince me, Honorable Kakoza, in all honesty, that we are a serious country that is determined to get out of poverty.
Of course we are, but you see, when you are implementing programs, you have to face some hurdles. But the way how you solve those hurdles make you to achieve what you want. And this is what I'm saying. I still insist that if you have systems and you face challenges, it's the think tank thing.
So
how do we go about it?
What you are talking about?
We are work as members of parliament.
What
We are work as members of parliament. If we are appropriating money, we have to task the executive. What does this money do? If it doesn't do the right thing, we stop giving you the money.
So
when have you done that?
Of course.
When?
I think what Parliament has not done, as diagnosed rightly by Honourable, is that there's a systemic failure.
That's true.
And so they keep on, I guess we all got hospital, they keep on trying to treat disease without diagnosing, without
the disease
treating,
where it comes
without
from.
going into uprooting the causes. And so you are saying precisely that you should stop giving money. But of course there has been ample evidence and testimonies by others, including the president, that the delivery is not working. So why are you giving this system money? It's like an elementary canal that is not holding and you are feeding.
That's the work
So
of
why are you
parliament.
curing the diarrhea?
That's the work of parliament.
And so you sit
We
in
should-
parliament.
yes,
Sir,
we insist.
You sit in parliament.
We insist.
Just a moment.
Yes.
You've been sitting in that parliament since the 7th parliament.
Yes.
We are now counting the 10th parliament.
Maybe they
You're
are
telling us, just a moment. You're telling us that is the work of parliament. Are you doing it?
We are doing it.
Or Fred here has joined you in that parliament. And the question you're asking, sir, you sit in that parliament.
Yes.
Are you doing that job that you're supposed to be doing?
We are doing it.
We are doing that job. You see, the point is this.
You agree on that one, at least?
Yes.
Yeah,
we are doing the job.
Right now, we are considering ministerial policy statements. And what we do is to examine what the government policy is, what they are proposing to spend on programs that are developmental for our people. We are doing that. And we shall appropriate that budget and give it to the executive to do what? To implement.
And then?
The implementing
we shall come
agencies.
here. You see, every Ugandan is concerned.
From the evidence of just on evidence of 2017, I mean 2016, 2017, or 2017, 2018 budget, are you convinced that the system deserves more money? Because you should have first analyzed the performance so far.
That's true.
But you see,
more money?
these questions are asked when we are considering ministerial policy statements. I don't think we don't ask these questions. And the ministers come and answer. Now, it is every citizen's responsibility, including President Museveni, by the way. He's first and foremost a citizen of this country before becoming president. So we are all supposed to do the right thing.
But Charles, I'm sorry to intervene. What I see in the parliamentary committees is basically like the discussion we're having here. The MPs will meet the government, the executive officials. There will be a lot of lamentations, some bit of accusations, and then everyone goes home. More money is passed and life continues.
No, I think
then we all here crying.
Both of you as members of parliament
Yes.
have been crying out in the last few minutes, saying, we are doing our work. And I want you to respond to Nteja Simwe. When do you stop reading from the book of Lamentations? For us, we are doing our part, but some other people.
No,
so
you see,
when do you stop that?
implementation of government programs does not stop at parliament. There are civil servants who are doing this. And the way how we check them is the reports which comes back. The best thing I think we as members of parliament have to do, we gave you money. You didn't do what that money is supposed to do. We should stop giving you money.
And you have never stopped.
No,
Every year,
we've been
in, year
stopping.
out.
No, we've been stopping.
Year in, year out, you
We've
give
been
more money.
stopping. No, we've been stopping. That's why I tell you, I'm on the finance committee and the budget committee now. That's why some sectors are not given money.
Honorable Kakoza, the parliament in which you sit,
Yes,
about 2 years ago,
yes,
proposed
yes,
or received a proposal from government
yeah,
to put into the budget
yes,
supplementary
yes,
funding,
yeah,
because it had become it's part of the culture that every budget will never be adequate, so you'll need supplementary funding. It comes every year, every year, every year. That same parliament approves an increasing presidential donations budget every single year. Does it tell you that your principle and the delivery process has failed to work, and you need to actually rethink and account Uganda and say, something is wrong here, we need to do something about
But
it.
Charles,
If we
before the MPs come, for me on the presidential donations, if the president is asking for more, it means his system is working. He's giving out more.
No.
Just, I think one of the challenges they say in other departments of government is that there is underutilization of money allocated and money is returned. The president is asking for more. He's not returning. So you can question who is giving. But the fact that he's asking for more seems not
giving we
not
can
be
give.
an issue.
The president also takes money, and whether he uses it for the right reasons or wrong reasons is now for him to do what? To decide.
Yeah,
but for us, I want to answer your question directly. You see, me, I come from the Forum for Democratic Change. We have alternative policy agendas. We have proposed to government, both in the parliament and through you, through the media, on how the country should be run. Rukungiri, we are answering. we are giving you the solution. So we are not reading from the book of Lamentations. We are saying these programs have not been implemented. This government is failing. Institutions have been run down. Systems are not working. So we vote these people out. And that's what we are doing. But you were asking me about the confidence I have.
But when I look at the president, Charles,
Can you just finish his idea, then we'll come back.
Yeah, I was telling you that people have woken up, and we are running every other Ugandan to come now to start realizing that people want an alternative development agenda, not these donations, not running down the institutions. There is a clear path how this country can be developed, and that's what we are advocating.
Honorable Kakoza.
I think what we need to understand that serving a country, it does not discriminate. And the people who are implementing these are civil servants of government. They owe a duty to a country and a citizen to do what they are supposed to do. Neither politicians are not the implementing agents of these programs of government. No, they are not. So we, as members of parliament, as politicians, if we appropriate money, our work is to check, and I still insist that if we members of parliament today, the 10th parliament, we find we gave you a sector, you've not performed, we don't give you more money, because it's a constitutional mandate that really, I can't give you money.
So
you underutilize
are
it.
you telling us that all the sectors that are receiving money are performing? Because there has never been a stoppage of government. I hear in the US, the government shut down, that kind of stuff. There has never been an attempt to shut down government, yet there is also some kind of consensus that government is not working.
No, of course,
So
of
what
course,
is
the performance and indicators within the sectors, you can see
You are
road
in health,
sector.
is health working?
No, of course, I'm not an agent there. But when I was there, the performance came from 35% to 85%.
So you were a better minister than all these other ministers.
I can tell you the record is there. Go on the record in National Planning Authority. The record was there. Because the way how you want to do things, it needs commitment.
As a member of parliament, I believe you're checking. What is the performance today?
The performance is below at about 55%.
55%. Why?
I can't understand because I'm not there. I can't understand why.
Why are you giving them more money?
This is why. That's why even when they were asking for nodding disease, I laughed. I said the Minister of Health was given billions of shillings. You get it? It had in the budget money which it had not spent to finish that disease up. But when members of parliament, they want and start allocating more money. What does 1 billion do? This is where we need to check ourselves, what we want to achieve and do it. If members of parliament, we are supposed to appropriate money and check. And when you brought Public Finance Management Act, it was to streamline the budgeting process, how the money can be utilized properly. If a sector doesn't perform, depending on the investment program, the work plan, the law is clear. We don't give you money.
But the practice is also clear. You always give more money.
No, we don't.
No. Just, I just wanted to make some comments.
I'm afraid you need to take
just the Rukungiri donations.
Yes.
And to try to separate the president donations from government delivery. I think you can. Because the things the president were giving were essentially a testament to the fact that there is no income generation. Because it's responding to personal income desires, trucks, tents. But it is not responding to roads, health. So I think that's where the real crisis is, that the entire government system is not addressing income problems.
Absolutely.
Even if you had good roads, good health services, good schools, there is no solution for income. So the president is trying to deal with income at a personal level.
I've been told actually.
But Mr. Onapito, also the saint mind of people, citizens, also must play a role. Because you can't wait to sit there from morning to wait for the president donation. As a citizen of this country, you cannot.
But I think
you wanted to say something.
I wanted to say something in relation to what Ona was saying. You see, if the public goods had been delivered, if we had good infrastructure, for instance, we have had a promise of a good road going to one of the most attractive tourist attractions in the country. People along that road would now start innovating on how to make money. My constituency lies...
But they are waiting for donations.
Just wait, please. My constituency lies just across the border to Congo. We have a fishing village. We can't get there. We don't have infrastructure. So if this money now was aligned to programs that would develop the infrastructure, the landscape where people are, and benefit the entire community, then innovations would start. And that's how everybody would
the
come up.
president gave trucks to deal with the bad roads.
No, they even have nowhere to pass. So I do not entirely agree that when the president says that he's coming to eradicate poverty, and first of all by even uprooting FDC, as if FDC are not entitled to public money. Those are wrong policies. They will not help this country.
That's one fundamental question that we need to deal with.
Yes.
Because it appears that when the president and the NRM are faced with a political challenge, they are quicker to react to that. Because, but the existential challenge for the entire country, which is poverty eradication, doesn't seem to get as much attention as needed. Because why wouldn't that money, for example, be taken to a constituency where the NRM has not faced a threat to its leadership? If the intention is to actually achieve transformation. And then I have been asked the question, many people who have done research in this area, especially economists, say the obsession with throwing money at what we think is the problem, which one I was talking about.
Yes.
You thought people didn't have Entandekwa in 1997. You appropriated a budget for Entandekwa. It didn't achieve what it was supposed to do. 2001, you said, what was the program?
2006, there was Bonawa Gagawale.
Bonawa Gagawale was 2006. No. Before that, it was in English. And a former member of parliament here sent me a message and said, it's just a change of name. You keep changing names, trying to throw money at what you think is the problem and never solve the problem. So how do you get out of that vicious cycle? I'm being told we need to take a break, but I'll take a message from Anthony. Anthony is watching us from the United States, and he says, when FDC took food to Isinjiro, government reacted and took food there. Same in Eastern Uganda. We hear NRM has been trying to make amends in Kasese. Now we see the Rukungiri case. Besige going to Abim, Besige going to Echitagata Hospital. There are so many cases. Isn't it in the interest of the people to flirt with or vote for the opposition in order for the government to react? It looks like voting for the opposition pays off for the people in some way, while voting for the NRM benefits the elected leaders only. We'll speak to this, but we'll also spend more time discussing the Income Tax Act bill that you're debating in Parliament after a short break. Still watching the Fourth Estate, and we're discussing President Museveni's donations and asking the question, can they help him and the party he leads and the government he runs to achieve the transformative agenda that's been talked about extensively? We're going to discuss the income tax bill that is before Parliament. In it, there is government proposals for taxes ahead of the next financial year, whether that can be achieved and whether this ad hocism actually does help to align the resources collected, whether domestically or internationally, or from other sources, external funding, to be able to achieve that agenda that government has told us, and the NRM manifesto. Bernard Mpairwe is still watching us from Lubaga, and he says, Honorable Kakoza, let's admit he's an NRM supporter, by the way. We have an implementation and evaluation problem. If we continue defending a wrong procedure, we are not helping President Museveni.
Correct.
That's what
I would be grateful to you, Honorable Kakoza, if you're advising the on-air now, why do you people want to say that the president wants to hear? Why do you want always say what the president wants to hear? Advise him on what can work out. This good president has been abandoned in this struggle. There is mafia within his government. Would you agree with Bernard? He says many things.
No, of course, it's what we need to know. The processes, when they are beginning, they work in complexity. As you go along, the environment always changes. I want to agree with him with only one thing, that the way how the set mind of people doing work, the corruption we have is a big challenge in implementing government programs. I can tell you on air here that if we can control the wastage, the corruption within the system, we can do better than where we are now.
What do you say to people who think that by the president carrying money and buying these things, that is part of the wastage?
No, it's not part of the wastage. It has an economic...
And part of the corruption.
No, it has an economic multiplier effect. If the president can act as a conduit and the people receive money, that's a flow.
But you've been doing that.
No, that's a flow of money. But what I'm trying to say, that we should separate and say, we structure, as I said at my beginning, that if we have a program it must be done and dealt with its principles. The moment you bend them, then that's where you go wrong.
But Mr. Kakoza,
Let me finish. Let me build up my case.
Yes, we've been talking about
you
the same
see,
thing.
if you appropriate money, for instance, for NADS, you have for operation or creation. People who are doing that, they should have every time their indicators. And within the next financial year, they are ready to say, you allocated us money, this is where we have moved, this is where we have reached, this is where we go. This is it. As simple as that.
But I thought that's been happening year in, year out, term in, term out. Every time you've been elected, you have these programs. We talked about the changing names of ad hoc programs.
I don't think that...
And I don't know when you stop and do an audit as a party, primarily. Forget about institutions of government. As a party, when you go to a caucus, whether you do it in State House, in Nambole, whether you're caucusing in Chankwanzi, or at Plot 10 Chadondo Road, and say, we've been implementing these things. We are putting in money. It is our party that needs to be accountable to Ugandans and see where we're taking the country. Because after 32 years in power, Honorable Kakoza, you'll agree with me, regardless of the mountain of challenges you faced as a government, you need to say, what did we achieve? What didn't we achieve? Because excuses of insecurity, excuses of insufficient money, can only last for so long.
But the achievements are there, Mr. Mwangusha.
Yes, sir.
If you say that there is no achievement, then that's...
I didn't say that.
Oh, no, we are taking it wrong.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, if you didn't say that, we should just focus on what are those negativities within the 32 years. What have we achieved since we came in? And what do you want to add on? And those challenges which can impede us to add on more, an extra mile, is what we deal with.
I think 32 years ago,
Charles,
a self-sustaining, integrated...
No, Charles, I wanted to...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, of course. If you say a country which was getting 5 billion, you are getting 15 trillion. And if you try that money to achieve...
Now back to 1980.
Yeah, but I'm telling you the truth.
For me,
there is no way you can
use the context of the president's donation. That actually, I think the president's donations are the best diagnosis of what is ailing the country, because it's responding to the real challenges. So, if he gives out the things he gave out in Rukungiri, it's basically acknowledging that there is no alternative system for delivering those things, but those things are essential for income generation and for poverty alleviation. So now the challenge is simple. Can you make the government deliver the things the president is delivering?
But if the,
because
the
as an individual,
failed,
you can only do it in particular places at point X.
Let me read a message from Margaret Baguma, who's watching us. She says, when is our turn in Fort Portal? There are many programs that have not been implemented. The fact that we are not aggressive does not mean we do not want the goodies like Rukungiri. Can this be replicated across the country?
Not by necessarily the president, but it could be replicated by government machinery. Now that they are debating a budget, I put money in the budget.
My question is clear.
Groups, just hold on.
My question is clear.
Groups that need to do catering services, they must have the capacity to get the necessary investment capital, either to buy tents, to do what, because these things are needed.
No, you see,
the problem is there is no machinery to give them.
That cannot be an answer. Let me tell you.
Because why not? We need a welfare state in this country, in my view. We need a welfare state.
So many people touched this money which the president donated. But after 1 week, none of those people will be able, if he got a simple injury, will be able to go and treat himself or herself in any hospital. I think what we should be looking at as a country, I think we should stop even living in denial. Because the money, the little money that is available, if it was put in programs and institutions to help every Ugandan, then we would move forward.
By who?
Even by the president. Look, you see, we have taken to listening to the president too much and not listening to citizens. Yes. Citizens' concerns. Recently, I got injured. You see my arm. I was in Kasese. Yes. I was rushed by a team of, parliamentarians. We were doing parliamentary work. Yes. We were rushed to one of the most famed orthopedic clinics in the country. based on the expected injuries from mining in Kasese,
Yes,
in
yes.
Jiremba and whatever. On arrival, there was no doctor.
That's Klembe Hospital.
Klembe Hospital, 2 doctors, but one had gone to do an operation in Virka, meaning even Virka Hospital itself has no orthopedic surgery. The other one was coming to present a paper in Kampala. There was no
Absenteeism.
just wait.
they
There,
will bring
there
you
was
back.
no there was no functional X-ray machine. Remember, I'm a member of Parliament, and people were just lining up. The whole of Kasese district was not going to be treated in that hospital. So the programs, these donations, when the president is giving donations, is he listening to those people? That is where the money is supposed to be spent. Is he listening to those people who are going to be injured? Even these people who got money in Rukungiri, none of them, after 1 week, will be able to go to hospital and get this treatment.
Someone is asking a number of questions here to you members of parliament, and he
Yes.
says, ask the MPs, please, do their constituencies have a development strategy? I understand the sub-county is the first planning unit. Do MPs have a role to play? There is a district planner. Can we make these plans public? Each district should have a website where these plans are uploaded. Planning, please. Where are the district plans?
What does the work of a member of
Planning,
parliament
yes. I can tell you in my constituency,
there.
I have formed a committee. I for one, have formed a committee of sub-county leaders, okay, involving the speaker, the Gombora chief, and whatever. That is where we look at people's concerns and see how much we can get from government to help the communities. If that was actually institutionalized, it would work better.
But
it is not even.
But what is the work
Okay,
of a
gentlemen,
local government?
Gentlemen, let's
What
just
is the work of local
let's just
government?
expand this because we'll need to spare about maybe 5 minutes. I hear people are calling.
No income tax.
We're trying to find a way to manage people giving us feedback, especially with phone calls. Sometimes they don't go as well as we want and we lose time. So my apologies to our callers, but we'll pick a few calls. You have before you, Honorable Kakoza, the income tax bill. 2018 rather.
2018.
It proposes new taxes. Many Ugandans are lethargic about paying taxes because they cannot align the taxes with the service delivery, which we've been discussing for the last 1 hour. You've been looking at that. You said you have talked to some tax consultants. Where does it take us?
I think what we need to of course, tax measures deal with the budget. Once a minister brings such a tax measures, you know a budget is income and expenditure. And tax measures are the ones which have to collect money to serve the purpose. But my only problem also comes with the Minister of Finance, that really we've been asking them, do you have a tax policy that which generates into a law that once you make a tariff rate high tax measure, you are going to achieve what you want? I can give you an example. They have brought banning of old vehicles of 10 years. It's counterproductive.
Why do you say so?
Where are you going to get the revenue? Who can afford to buy a vehicle of model 2015, 2016?
Why? Instead of asking who,
No,
we
I'm
would
telling
want to ask
you.
the question, why can't Ugandans afford to
Yes,
drive a new car? Why can't Ugandans afford to drive a car that is only 5 years old?
Of course, the income. This is the income. And if you make such a tax policy, you have to know. You have to know the people. You must have a research. What do you want to achieve? These laws now, which we are using now, we are under East African Community. There are some domesticated laws. And you can never go against the canons of taxation. One major canon of taxation is, what is the spirit of that law? I can take, for instance, the excise duty. Excise duty is put there for protection of local industries or for generating a revenue. The moment you don't, your achievement will not get it. You get what I'm saying? If you are depending on a revenue on imported materials for almost 65 to 75% of a country, and you put prohibitive tax rates, will you get the collection? What will you have as a turnover in the end of the year? You fail to hit the target. So this is where I request my friends in tax policies, in the Minister of Finance, they must have a tax policy and a statistic information that the moment you bring a tariff rate on such an item, on an imported item, you must have figures of what you want to achieve. That's why people now, if you go to the public now, they are going to complain. But the good thing is, when the module of budgeting changed, these laws now, I assure you, they are subject to change. Because we debate the tax laws before the budget is implemented. Not as it was before. When we changed the module of Public Finance Management Act, it could have been a command that once the tax bills are made, they are implemented as they are, because the projection are already made. But now, these laws, they are brought early because of the Public Finance Management Act. These laws which they are put on table, it's incumbent members of Parliament now, because they are subject to change. We debate them before.
Okay.
But for me, those are
Yes.
just semantics. Let me tell you. And it doesn't matter what volume of tax we are going to correct. All the money we are going to correct, whether it is under the new income tax bill or the old one, 50% of it is going to service debt. So the wider question is, what did that money do? Did it benefit Ugandans? Even the little that is going to remain, how is it going to be utilized? The incidence of tax is the function of the business that is being done in the country. If we don't have any business, you will not get the tax. So we should structure ourselves for production, okay? Once we produce and we access markets, that's when we can get more tax and pay our debts and be able to invest. Just changing one law here, one law there to increase tax when you are just going to give it out without knowing that it has benefited the citizens in the country is helpless.
But of course, you can't run a budget without taxes. You can't. You can't. You must put tax measures. That my complaint is, the principle must be accepted that yes, you are bringing tax measures. You want to hit a certain target. But if you bring prohibitive one, will you achieve what you want? This is what we are saying. And this incumbent upon the members of Parliament, that's why the public is in arms. It's saying, how many vehicles can you manufacture here? If so, I remember a recommendation of 2004. I was in the finance committee. We recommended and said, we told Minister of Finance, yes, you want to do it like Rwanda. Reduce the import duty on any new vehicle. When you reduce the import duty to come from 25 to 10%, how many vehicles and how many people will you bring in the tax bracket? And you get a turnover. But if you put it as high as that, it's impossible. Somebody has written something good as a research in New Vision. He said, especially, you are bringing now a total ban of model 2010. It will be paying 28 million. Just taxes only. And how much is it costing? And how many people? You as a person putting that tax measure, what is your intention? To achieve more revenue or to protect the local industry?
What
Charles,
does that
I
say
think
to you?
it's understandable why some of the proposals by the Minister of Finance are definitely, for those of us who relate with the tax issues, understandable, but there are also some which are obvious mistakes. But you can understand the pressure Minister of Finance and you are a go through. There is a massive run on the treasury because of the runaway spending habits of the public sector. And they are under pressure as agents to deliver more to the table because all departments of government, the salary increases are going through the roof. Parliament itself is one of the culprits in terms of spending habits.
Judiciary.
There is a runaway travel, foreign travel with massive per diems. So there is no way they can be sober thinking by the tax agents. They have to try and meet this pressure. But as I say, some of the proposals are good, some of them are obvious mistakes.
So
which
the pressure,
time will show.
so the pressure they're working under, as you say, which everybody admits to, how does this help the country long term?
It doesn't help long term because you see one of the net effects, of course, the increasing debt burden, because there's first also there's more borrowing because of this pressure to meet the spending. I think even the oil money has been raided, perhaps prematurely. So
Prematurely.
until when they plug the spending gap, the collections will not meet. It's like, as we said, the proverbial fetching water with the basket. So it will always
Honorable
leak.
Kakoza, how sustainable are the approaches you as a party in government employing? Yes,
These tax measures.
Tax measures,
I think
prioritization, fixing the gaps.
I think what we need to do, and what I think is the weakness comes from the Minister of Finance, which deals with this. It needs really to know what you want and where you need to invest money for more revenue general correction. Because if you tell me that you are at the seat of the planning of a state, and you plan to get what you have, and you put it in a wastage where you don't think that you can achieve more, if the internal rate of return is very low, what do you want to achieve? It's strategically, you have to sit and think.
One of the wastages, some people unfairly think is Parliament.
No, people. What is the percentage of Parliament on allocation of resources of government? It's about 7%. The total budget, where does it go?
The question that frustrates me is something you keep saying. You've kept saying throughout the show, and you said before when I had you here, is that there is a very high tendency to kick the can. So Parliament is not responsible. You kick the can to technical people.
Yes.
Technical people say, no, we are not responsible. It is those politicians. So they kick it to the politicians. And then nobody
takes account.
Who takes
where does the buck stop?
Where does the buck stop? You are the party in power.
I think
because you cannot shift and say, you know there's a problem at Minister of Health, you know there's a problem at Minister of Finance, you know there's a problem at Minister of Gender, you know there's a problem at Minister of Trade. There will be a problem everywhere. And then it will come, no, it's at the district. No, it's the people. Where does the buck stop?
I think what we need to do, my brother, that really we need to think alike, and we do the right thing where it's supposed to be.
When are we going to do that? When Jesus comes back?
It's a duty of all.
What is the right thing?
We have to do.
What is the right thing?
We are not among those who should be.
Every citizen, even you, Mangusa, even him, even me, even him, whatever role you want to play, you are part of this. And you must play the right role.
We missed a grand opportunity. We had been expecting that Jesus might come back in the year 2000. He never did. So you say we need to, and we're waiting. When do we actually do?
We tell you, because
implementation of development programs,
it is the
does
same
not stop.
Of the NRM, of the NRM as a party and the government, who has just accepted that poverty levels are
going up.
How do you widen the tax base from poor people who are increasingly growing poor? So we don't have to continue living in denial. We need to get back to, optimal utilization of our resources into productivity, okay?
That's an investment, of course.
We need these investments from which we are going to correct this tax.
And you remember, Parliament, you have to start and say, please, if you're allocating money somewhere, we change it and put it for water for production. And people achieve
what I'm telling you is this.
And you're part of the game.
Yes, what I'm telling you is this. Let us not focus on saying how much now can we expand the tax and correct to this tune. We should rather be thinking of how to reduce the poverty, okay? Bring more, taxable businesses as people start, as we increase productivity, so that we can be able now to widen the tax base and start correcting taxes. Short of that, we are going to continue living in denial. The institutions will continue collapsing. We shall never increase the tax by saying we want to implement measures to correct from many people.
You are part of the game. Gentlemen, part of the game, and even Mwangu says part of the
game. There are those who play. People don't play the same roles in even in a football match. They play different roles, and you gentlemen have the honor and the privilege to be at the center of directing where we go.
Right.
But and you cannot continue kicking the can to other responsibility. Because the best thing is to say, everybody is involved. You know, everybody doesn't do anything. Somebody must do, must do the work. Our time is out. We need to get out of here. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, very much. This has been a month of very important birthdays.
Yes.
I just remembered that I should mention. We commented about Dr. Kiza Besje earlier.
How old is he now? How old is he now?
President.
Yeah?
How old is he now?
62.
62.
Oh.
Yes, but I think we also had celebrations for the Kabak of Buganda.
63.
Celebrated 63 in April. And the Omukam of Toro also celebrated 26 years.
Wenarem is coming also.
80.
Our time is out. We need to get out of here. Thank you very much to you all our viewers. Thank you very much, Ona. Thank you very much, James Kakoza, Member of Parliament for Kabula in the Ntonde District, a member of the National Resistance Movement. Thank you very much, Fred Turiamuhweza, Tumahirwe.
Yes.
Thank you
Member
for
of Parliament
inviting us.
for Rujumbura County in Rukungiri District.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to you all our viewers for joining us tonight and always. Thank you very much to the production crew that stays up late to deliver the show to you. We encourage that the debate on this topic continues on our social media platforms, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on WhatsApp. And apologies, we're still trying to find a way to manage your phone calls because we've received feedback from our viewers that some phone calls, sometimes because either of bad connection or bad connectivity, we are not able to get as much as we want from you, but we value your contributions and your feedback. So once we have fixed that, we'll be able to communicate and we'll be able to receive the phone calls. From me, it's a good night.